Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Samurai Goddess. The goddess next door takes on kung fu killers in this action-packed martial arts Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Samurai Goddess in paperback and e-readers today. I have to wonder what constitutes hate speech here on YouTube, because when it comes down to this definition of hate speech, I have to wonder, is it that somebody is expressing language that incites people to take action that leads to somebody's death or injury? Or is it because someone hates hearing the opinions being expressed by another individual? Now, according to the so-called YouTube guidelines, hate speech is supposed to be any sort of language that is incendiary to another group or another individual, or something that leads to the promotion of violence against another group or an individual. Now, when I look at the recent actions by a group of African American women to form a non-profit to combat so-called hate speech of black men who present videos on YouTube, I have to wonder, are they really out to fight hate speech, or are they out to censor people who they hate hearing the opinions of? Now, when it comes down to this so-called hate speech that black men have been alleged to participate in, I've watched many videos of the individuals these black women have presented on a YouTube hit list, and all it looks like to me from an objective perspective is that a group of black men are merely expressing their opinions on these videos. And in these videos, they are merely using their First Amendment right to free speech to freely speak about the issues that they have with black women, the grievances they have with black women. And they are merely using a social media platform that was designed to broadcast themselves to express their issues and grievances about black women. So for me, that does not constitute hate speech. What it looks like to me is that many of these black women hate hearing the opinions of black men, and what they want to do is censor the opinions of those black men because they hate hearing their opinions regarding numerous issues that they have with black women. Now, that is not constructive to any social media platform, and it's not constructive to the country overall, because under the United States Constitution, under the First Amendment, all American citizens are guaranteed a right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And I think that that right should transfer right over to YouTube as well, because as an American company, they have to abide by the United States Constitution, especially the First Amendment. And censoring one group leads to a slippery slope when it comes down to censorship, because if we allow these black women to censor black men's opinions on YouTube, it leads to a slippery slope of them being able to dictate what goes on social media. And who are these black females to sit there and say that they are going to tell the world how to express themselves on a platform that says broadcast yourself? This is an overstepping of bounds, and this is something that not only do black men need to fight back against, but white men need to fight back against, Hispanic men, Hispanic women, Asian men, and people all over the world who use the YouTube platform. Because when one group can sit there and say that they want to censor another group, that leads to, again, a slippery slope where everyone is winding up walking on eggshells, and that shouldn't be on a platform where people can broadcast themselves. Because you don't want to hear something doesn't mean that it doesn't belong on a platform, and it doesn't mean you have a right to try to control what goes on that platform. And when I look at this group of black women and their plans to try to censor black men, it clearly shows me that they do not understand the rights that were fought for by our grandfathers and grandfathers in those wars like the Civil War and World War II, where they fought, and the Civil Rights Movement, where people fought for the rights under that Constitution. Because just because you hate hearing something doesn't mean people have a right to say it. Under our Constitution, we are guaranteed, again, the right to free speech and freedom of expression. If you feel something degrades the image of the African American woman, then you have a right to express your opinions about it, but you do not have a right to censor people on an open platform. And this is the big problem many African American women have regarding differences of opinion. They only want to hear the opinions they want to hear, and if somebody presents a counterpoint, they want to censor that counterpoint. And censoring counterpoints is not constructive on open platforms. Open platforms are designed so everyone can have a voice, and to say that black men can't have a voice, that's unpatriotic and un-American. Black men should have a right to a voice on an open platform. They should have a right to express their opinions and their grievances. And if they are critical in their opinions and their grievances, then that's them expressing their opinions. What I see that's really hypocritical about this is that the same group will sit there and say black men are degrading their image on social media and are promoting hate speech against them, but you will not see any of these same individuals going to any of the real hate groups such as the Ku Klux Klan or the neo-Nazis or the Aryan Nation talking about how they need to form an organization to silence them from degrading the image of the black woman. Nor will you see them talking about we need to get these videos off of YouTube. These videos that are created by organizations such as the Ku Klux Klan, the neo-Nazis, and the Aryan Nation, they are on YouTube right now, and they have been on YouTube for almost since the inception of the social media platform. And I believe they wouldn't want to fight those white men because those white men are well versed in the United States Constitution, and those white men have lawyers who can fight them back. The only reason why they go after black men like this is because black men do not have the organization to fight them back, nor do they have the resources to go out here and hire lawyers to defend them on their behalf. I believe if black men were to organize their own organization and present their own case to Google's executives, Google's managers, and even take it to a class action lawsuit, we would see a totally different view of things here on YouTube regarding black men and hate speech. Because as I see it, black men have been persecuted on YouTube, all for merely wanting to have a platform all their own, present their opinions about things, and express themselves in the same way that other people of other races and even black women have been able to express themselves for many years. And it's not fair to black men that we can't have a platform where we present ourselves on a website that says broadcast yourself. We can't do that, but black women can come on here and continue to present their side of a story and then not give black men the chance to present their side of the story. And we haven't seen the black man's side of the story ever until YouTube and social media came along. Before then, all we heard about from black women was the black feminist narrative of black women being abused by no good black men and black men being absolutely no good. It was only when we had social media such as YouTube, Facebook, and Blogger that we started seeing a counterpoint. And what this group of black women want to do is take us back to the days of the 1970s and the 1980s, where people like Oprah Winfrey and black feminists were out here presenting this argument that this black man was no good and that this black man is the demon in the room, and we have to get rid of the demon in order for there to be good. But all that's doing is making this black female out to be a victim when she is actually the abuser, because what she's trying to do is control the narrative of the black community and dictate to people what that narrative is and tell that story that only makes her out to be a victim. She really wants to silence, starting with the black man, and then she wants to widen out to other people who she has gone out of her way to censor, such as black women who side with black men, biracial black people, and black people who want to tell other stories outside of her victim narrative. All they want to do is continue to promote one story, and that one story is now starting to have holes poked in it, because once you have counterpoints presented outside of that narrative and people start listening to it, they start looking at that argument and saying, you know what, you're not the victim you said you were. You're not being abused like you said you were. And it looks like to me that you have to take account for your behaviors and the way you act. So when I look at this whole hate speech thing, and from a broader, more panoramic, and more objective perspective, it's clear to me that when it comes down to this group of black women, it's not that black men are promoting any sort of incendiary violence or harm to black women in expressing their opinions. In what they're saying, they're just being critical of the behaviors of black women, the irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behaviors of black women, the historical behaviors of siding with the feminist movement and the welfare state, and they are presenting an argument that counters that we have seen in mainstream media, in television, film, and radio, and literature over the last 40 years, and that narrative that pretty much presents a counterpoint that refutes many of the ideas presented in that media. And what they want to do is continue, again, to control that narrative, and that narrative is not going to be controlled in this digital age. And that what they want to do is they want to call it hate speech, when in actuality they just hate hearing the counterpoints that are being presented about them, and people making efforts to hold them equally accountable in what is alleged to be an equal society here in the United States of America. When I look at this campaign that talks about hate speech on YouTube, it looks like to me, again, they hate hearing the truths being presented by other people and the counterpoints, and all they want to do is censor us and take us back to the days where they had control over the stage, control over the platform, and that shouldn't be allowed on a platform that says broadcast yourself. If you'd like to see me make more of these videos, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct titles, you can click the link to Amazon.com in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.